Good evening, folks, and welcome back to Biblical Britain Uncoded. Apologies, it's been one of the longest periods, I think, between the last code and this. But as if you've been watching these videos, you'll know that obviously I'm not in charge of the speed of this code. It just comes. Well, obviously I'm reliant on the receiving the information then. Before I can complete it, and it has a clever way of obviously making sure that you don't get the right information until it's ready. The video should go out, and as you'll see, I'll show shortly the code behind the last video where I said it was video 66, and we were talking Job 9:9, and it was all about the Cancer constellation, which is essentially a 6 and 9. But there was something I didn't notice till after, but we'll get to that. Okay, it's been, I say this all the time, but this code never fails to blow my mind, and I genuinely mean that. I mean, I encode it, but for anybody new, welcome to the channel, and what happens basically, like I say, this sounds absolutely crazy, but it's nothing that I can't back up in writing, because this is the way it works. I get downloads or downloaded information. Hard to explain it, but all of a sudden these triggers come from what has been decoded, because the code actually confirms it. I've done it in previous videos, that what is biblically known as the tetragrammaton is actually the Black Knight satellite, or that's its Earth name, which links it to the temple where this all sort of centers, this matrix or matrix. Okay, folk, right. There's a story behind this code. Not the one on the board. The one I've put on the board, obviously. Right, if you've been watching this, you will know that 3 or 4 videos ago, I decoded one of Solomon's seals, and effectively it led from the ship into a seal, which gave me the coordinates effectively to make an arrowhead on a map I'd already drawn of a bow, but there was kind of no arrowhead on it. Obviously it was the arrowhead seal, and all the place names that the lines cross that make that arrowhead. And it was a massive code. In fact, one of the biggest single ones I've ever done. Basically, when I decoded it, and when I say decode it, it's anagram. Everything in this is anagram, but it's very, very clever. And you're going to see another example of it later on. Not the first code. I think it's the third code, really, the third new code, which is astonishing. Is a picture I drew on the map, and you'll see what I mean when we get there if you're new. About 2 years ago, which predicted, I won't give too much away, but right, the first code is absolutely mind-blowing. For anybody who's been following this code, you will know that I have effectively prophesied, and again, not because I got voices in my head, because I got taken to places where it is all written into creation. It's written into the star constellations, the map, and you'll see examples, perfect examples of this. And the Creator's new works, basically. When he said I create new works, he literally meant I create them, because they're in creation itself. We live in a this is obviously part perception, but 99% I can see it in the way it's constructed, but it's got to be a pre-calculated simulation. In other words, we live in real time, we do everything, we make our own choices, but the Creator basically somehow has calculated everything in advance. And then I think this code always seems to go backwards. You get the answer and then you get the confirmations rather than the clues. And this happens it just happens repeatedly, including this picture that I'll show you that I did 2 years ago and didn't realise the code in it, but the code is only relevant now, which means I couldn't have got the code out of it at the time, because it wasn't the circumstances what is in the code is only becoming applicable now. Let's just say that. All right, so going back to the arrowheads, what I call the arrowhead seal, obviously the first seal that goes on Jacob's ladder as well on that vision and ties that in. Right, I'm going to read the first part of it. I mean, I've put the relevant, what's mostly relevant to this code, because a prophecy is basically coming to happen. Now, in the Old Testament, it says, I show you things, Yah says, I show you things in ancient times. So when they, things not yet done, so when they come to pass, you'll know that I did it. And I'm going to rephrase it because it says I am your God and Savior, but it says either it should be I am Yah, your Creator and Savior, there is no other. Understand that even though I'm showing you this and what I'm about to read says it all, I'm not, I'm not a saviour. That is for certain. I obviously, I wouldn't have any of this. This code is given to me, and I get it so quickly, and it's so massive. Like you see, this is only half of the code that I'm about to read, and I get this in the space of like a few hours or whatever. And not one. Every time I get these new codes, they always come at so fast, and they link together perfectly, and they link to the last video, to the one before, to the one before. So it's clearly showing that there's no coincidence, and it's done to show that I am being led. But anyway, proof of the pudding. Okay, in fact, I will start with on the atlas, on the atlas. On the map, there is a ship, basically, like I don't know what you would call it, not a galleon, but like something you'd find in the 18th century. It looks like to me, anyway. But there's a ship, and I decoded it from the constellation of the Argus Navis. It's an ancient constellation split into four. The four now are Gerus the Crane. Gerus is where Jerusalem gets its name. It was named after the constellation of Gerus the Crane. And this is where the deception with Jerusalem in the Middle East. We'll come to that because it's a bit of a scary prophecy actually on the last two. If you're in America, really, if everybody in the world should be, I'd say be worried. But what I have, first message is the message of hope. And then the other two are really kind of letting you know what's coming. And like I say, it's not good in some respects, which is all the more reason to take this message seriously. Please stick it out till the end, because like I say, you'll once you see the brilliance in this code, you'll realise. And bear in mind, I didn't go to university. I couldn't do a cryptic crossword in outside of this code. I'm not able to. I would be lucky to answer 2 questions of a cryptic crossword, and I would be delighted with that if I'm honest. So when I do this code, and like I said, I couldn't even begin to put this together. The way it's constructed is absolutely phenomenal. But anyway, right, okay, so the ship code, I'll read it. The ship code itself, when you take all the place names in it, you basically anagram it down. So you've got a picture and a message. It says, and bear in mind, this leads back to a previous drawing of a dart that hits the bullseye on the temple, and that's all coded as well. The temple in question is on the real Jerusalem. And and basically the dart hits a padlock shape that is basically built into the foundations of the temple itself, and that is the real Solomon's temple. Okay, right, and you'll see the deception of Israel and what is going on there, following on from this. Okay, so the ship code: Marco drew dart to RGH padlock sign target, where we fix mast ladder to Argus Ark ship keel. Connect Orion's riddle, final event, escape, Welsh key fort, HLZ. Now write in a warning. Okay, if you're new again, the RGH and all this will become apparent. I mean, the last video that really went to town, it's quite complex, it's very complex, but this one's going to be a lot easier to kind of, thankfully, to kind of explain, because it's more included, it's more it's just easier. But obviously we have to have enough it has to be complex enough for doubt, anyone who wants to question it and doubt it and see the miracle in it, but simple enough for people to understand as well. So this one's it's a lot easier to explain. Okay, so from that basically, when that was the first code on that video. And second code on the video, which basically when I took a seal, I obviously went to London and it decoded London as Babylon. Okay, as crazy as that sounds, but this is all about exposing the real Holy Land. Okay, so the arrowhead seal, it says, Yah has led his Welsh Messiah to Babylon with Solomon's Hill Fort key seal. Map tricks reveal the Mel H RGH Ark ship exit where the dart hits the moon target. The Ark of the Covenant is hidden under Jerusalem Coent Temple. Connect thy Sabbath law. Okay. Right, okay. Now the second part is what I've got on the book. I say the second part is all one big code, but this is kind of what this code is really the code I'm going to show you next is the code that this really can kind of fulfills a prophecy. Okay, the code, right, it says, the code he opens will be seen before the Welsh red dragon planet will be seen. Them that find my words heed his warning. Remind that time be short, man's world ends, time's near up. Rearrange the moon eclipse words for the message. Now that was the back end of it. Just so you know, the red dragon planet is a planet called Nibiru. It's in all the ancient writings and it says it will return. All the weather is going upside down, as you know. Everything, all this, I don't want to say the word, but the thing they say that's causing the temperatures to rise and the rest of it, it's nothing to do with what they're saying it is. Effectively, it's a lie. What it is this planet is coming in from somewhere. It's called Nibiru. It's decodable as well, or Planet X. And effectively it says the Earth will rock like a drunkard. Well, this thing is obviously starting to take its effect at a time when the sun is at its maximum, or is it? And we'll soon find out. I don't think this. Well, let's just see what happens with that. But effectively, right, and it says so. And rearrange the moon eclipse words for the message. Okay, so the big right, the moon eclipse word. All I had to do, or I was given to do, is take the actual description of the American Joule eclipses that made a great big X for Planet X, and there's another reason for it as well. It's a core knife fail, but I'll explain that on the third code because it links to that. Okay, now when I take the words like it's Joule. Well, basically if I unscrabble that, it'll say Joule American eclipses, Joule American solar eclipses, Nineveh and Salem. Nineveh, there were something like 9 Ninevehs it crossed on the first eclipse, and something like, 7 Salems or something on the second one. But basically, they're obviously biblical names. Salem is the back end of Jerusalem, and Nineveh is always associated with a warning. But again, like I say, I can't get too deep into it, but it's all obviously very symbolic. And what it does, create this big X, take the description, and then what you get is as due, evac ship Lam Melin, seal Marco's Orion name. So the code he opens will be seen before the planet, basically. So at some point, what it's saying, as due, the evac ship Lam Melin. Okay, for anyone who doesn't know, Clan Melin is the hill fort in the shape of a clee. It's the H which stands for, among other things, hill fort on the RGH code. I'll explain a bit more as we go, but obviously there's a ship, the evacuation ship, and I've decoded it in so many ways long before what I'm about to show you in the kind of following codes or code. Obviously, revealed. Okay, on that note, I just need to pause for a second, guys and girls. Okay, right. As you can see on the board, this is not a new code. Again, I uncoded this going back. This was, I don't know how many videos ago, quite a long way back. But basically what I did was found the golden code in the Old Testament. Now, if you knew, the Old Testament has been rewritten. It was an ancient Welsh Bible, and this is it all from code. None of this information comes from books or anywhere. It just comes from code. It's written in the Atlas of Stars. It's an Atlas star matrix, basically. And when you put the P in it, which I've uncoded, you put the P in it, it becomes to break the matrix, you break the map tricks. And the map tricks are obviously the drawings and everything else that I show that contain insane code, which I'm going to, like I say, we'll have an example of that coming up on the third code. Right, okay, so the importance of Job, the book of Job is an allegory for a job. so obvious, it's frightening. But and in it, what it is encoded in the Old Testament. Obviously Yah knows that, well, he's calculated that they're going to change everything. Basically, they move the Holy Land. Obviously, I've encoded that, and it turns out that Wales basically is, and there's no bias on this, as you can tell from my name Marco. Obviously, on my mother's side, are Italian. My father's side is Norwegian, but obviously, and Welsh. The Mel line, the important one, my dad's father's line, they're the Welsh side of it. I won't get into too much on that, but anyway. Right, okay, but let's get back to the subject. Right, okay, he said in Job 9:9, which is it's all about 9. It's about the job 9:9 and a cancer. The cancer is obviously the royal arch in cancer is on the royal. When you get the arch on the temple, basically that goes between the pillars. But what you get, the Royal Arch, is basically it's a code for the Royal Gwent Hospital. This is where I was born. Now, what's amazing is I was actually inserted into the Matrix, and when my mother was pregnant, basically they lived on the house that literally is sat, well, what would be sat on they haven't dug the entire temple up, and you've got this back piece that says it's a forum and everything, but this temple was huge. And what the bit that I will try to remember to show at the end, I'll show you where the lock is and everything else on this temple that is supposed to be Roman, and the Romans built this fort. The whole thing is a cover-up. It's the greatest cover-up of all time of the real Holy Land. Again, into the historical stuff. Okay, so he says, who makes Orion, Arcturus and the Pleiades? Now, what struck me with this first is I thought it's a bit weird because Orion is a constellation and Pleiades is a constellation. Arcturus is a star. And I actually thought that it should have been, my initial thing was somebody's mistranslated it, or it's a cover-up. They're trying to mess up the code, but it turns out it wasn't. And for anyone who's new to it as well, the Pleiades says please ID. Now, well, one thing as well, he says, canst thou bind the sweet influences of the Pleiades? Well, there's nothing sweeter than sugar. And if I take just a quick one, this is just a quick version, but because there's a lot more to bind in the sweet influences of the Pleiades because it's central to all the code. But Pleiades is an anagram of please ID, and then sugar. So canst thou bind the sweet influences of the Pleiades? Well, it's also the Argus. And he also says sweet as, he uses the term sweet as honey all the time. Well, the Welsh word for honey is mel. Okay, that's the Welsh word for honey. So if I use sugar and mel, it's sugar and honey. Sugar mel Argus, and then this also is you decode it down again, and it's G Rus, because the two are intricate. Well, they're entwined. Jerusalem, which gives you the full name of the fort encoded as well. Okay, just a quick one. Right. Okay. So back to this. It says so when you anagram this down. This is the statement that you get. It says, I see truth returns. Bear in mind, I've put the truth back into the land and it on the last video. And what you really have is the triskelion key, which is a 3-skeleton key effectively. And what it does, it's all a code. Canaan, Egypt, and Judah. Now, as unbelievable as this is going to be, but like I say, I'd give you an in-depth breakdown of it. You've got a KEY. Obviously, change this to a J and then take it to the Middle East. But when you re-put it back, and in fact, that is actually, this part goes on Anglesey Holyhead, and this is Swindon, and this would be Exeter. The whole Bible has been upturned and changed. But what it says is seek Yah. Yah is, by the way, is the creator. That's who's giving this message. Oh, incidentally as well, just out of interest, the last video was 66, which really unveiled this entire it's the 666 and 999 code effectively. As it's to do with the bunker that's underneath these two forts on the Cancer constellation. Oh yeah, and by the way, K-E-Y, and the real Holy Land is not Israel, it's Siluria. So what you have is a set of keys, basically, K-E-Y-S, and then you've got your Sikhs Yah. Well, Sikhs Yah with the S as well. So, and that's what I did, and that's how I got this code. Okay. Right, Job. Right, what I didn't notice on the last video, and I know it's quite deliberate why it was done, is I obviously pointed out that it was video 66, and I also pointed out Job 99. Obviously, you've got the 6 and the 9 there because that's what it revealed. But also, what I didn't notice, as well as being video 66, about an hour after I finished kind of doing the video, I have to fill in these sheets basically for the day, obviously, for vans coming in and what have you. And I get the sheets out because I'm working, this is where I work basically, I'm security. And the first numbers I wrote on the sheet, and then it hit me, because I'm thinking this video is late, but obviously this is showing perfect synchronicity, because the date the video I got, basically the date I did the video and I uploaded it was, without even realising, was the 9th of the 9th. So on the 9th of the 9th, I did the 66 video that revealed the 6 and the 9. The 999 is the emergency number as well, folks, just in case you're in America or somewhere. It's the same as your 911, so it's an emergency evac code basically, obviously for what is coming, and it's to identify the RGH. Again, it's so hard to show this, but if I draw the pillars, what you've got, what it does is it's a map template, but it's kind of straight. The symbol of what the Freemasons, it's not theirs, it's Solomon symbology. But what I was guided to do effectively, and I've been doing it for a long time. This would be the lock, which I'll again, if you're new to this, I'll try and remember to show you at the end. This is the lock on the temple. This is the Key Hill fort. So not only have you got K-E-Y-S, you've got your keys, you've literally got a fort that is literally the shape of a key, and obviously a padlock as well, where you unlock the map tricks. As well with this, I return on H, right? As well as Orion the Arcturus Pleiades code, I see truth returns, so I return on H. Please set evac H IDs. Right, well, the Royal Gwent Hospital is essentially the Royal, on the template is the Royal Gwent Hospital, it's the Royal Arch, it's Jerusalem, and it's the Hill Fort. So you get your RGH, but it's also the hospital that the house sits literally on the temple, obviously. I went into the womb of the Matrix there, but I was taken to the hospital, the Royal Gwent Hospital. Obviously, I was born. This is why it's royal. I don't quite understand that bit at this point. But the Royal Gwent Hospital is where I entered this world. And then 50 years later, out of the blue, from not being religious or anything like that, or doing coding or anything, I didn't have a clue really. My life in a heartbeat went upside down. I called on Yah, but circumstances kind of led to that. But I'm not realising that this was all set out as a plan. But obviously, then I end up 50 years later, in a complete world I completely did not understand, and lo and behold, from there it says to something about connect thy Sabbath law. Well, by following his rule is also an anagram of Siluri H, and this will become apparent in the next code as well. And the Siluri are the tribe that lived at the fort. So when they're telling you about Israel and the Israelites, what it should be is the Siluri and Siluria. It's the land of Britain, and all the history of South Wales, where it is actually as well encoded in where Job says, speak to the fish, it says in Job, speak to the fish and they will teach thee, or words to that effect. Well, when I took the constellations of all the fish, unbelievably, it tells you that the ancient South Wales history is hid in the depths of the Vatican. On the land, on the Atlas line, there's also an Atlas line as well. On the very same video, decoded in a matter of hours again, that says that the ancient Welsh Bible was rewritten. So what there's been is a great big cup, and it says she hushes up Jerus. Obviously, she's talking of the Vatican and the church. Right, the greatest deception ever, the deception of Amen Ra. And so when you say, please, when you call on Yah, you don't say Amen. Amen is a trick. It's just the devil in discord. It's Ra. Oh, and Ra, incidentally, is decoded. The real name for the snake in the Garden of Eden is Ra. And again, I can't go into all this, but I've done extensive videos on it. All right, so you can see the synchronicity, and if you think this is all coincidence, well, you're about to see, well, like I say, the next bit confirms this part. The last code I showed you, among a ton of other things as well. Okay, for anyone as well new, this has been deemed the rendezvous. The temple is the rendezvous, which I've been saying all along, for the Ark ship, the Argus Navis. The Ark of the Covenant. The first covenant is a box. The second covenant has a mercy seat, funny enough. That's why there's a mercy seat on the box. It's in code for the second covenant, because the Ark of the second covenant is an Ark ship. It's the Ark ship of the agreement, which is the agreement I made to do this job. And obviously here I am uncoding it. But like I say, stick with me because there's a whole lot more to come. Right, on that note, I'll just pause you a second. Okay, and folks, right, the reason I'm showing you the other codes as well, for anybody new, just so you can see that this is not me pulling some fantasy out of my own head, or well, like I say, the speed I get these codes is absolutely insane anyway. It's impossible to do it. I mean, I haven't spent more than probably, I don't know, really, about 3 hours at the most encoding what I'm about to but you know, obviously some of it's already there. In fact, everything so far I've showed you was already there. But the reason I'm showing you it is because all these videos link together. They start off very weak, the code, but as you see, as it progresses, I mean, go back 10 codes, come forward, and you will see the absolute genius behind the one who created this code. And believe me, he's outsmarted the evil ones of this world. Okay, on that note, right, this is the highlight and the code that makes me smile so much. Right, going back, amazingly, and by no accident, to the 9th of the 10th, sorry, going back to the 27th, right, on the 27th, and I've got this, obviously I've kept I've got the messages to kind of prove this. On the 27th of September, and up to this point, going back, the last one was on the 9th of the 9th, I had 3 quiet weeks, and I sat twiddling my thumbs waiting for something to come, and I was starting to, I don't even know why I started to worry, because it always comes anyway, and it did. But right, I had the start of one code, and then this happened. Right, okay. I got a message of Steve Powell. Well done, Steve. You know, and no doubt that this is all meant to be. But what he did, he sent me a message saying, basically, there's a video clip, or a kind of TikTok video clip. Now, I don't take it, obviously don't take it as read. I don't know if you can see it, but I'll read it anyway. Right, the red bit on the TikTok thing, it says, according to James Webb telescope, a city-sized unknown object, presumably a spaceship, correcting its course towards Earth. What are your thoughts on this? Obviously quite interesting. He said, have you heard anything about this? Could it be the Argus Navis? I replied, same day, hi Steve, I haven't seen this, but I hope it's true, my friend. And he said, and that it will confirm your decoding. So obviously you can tell that I've obviously decoded the ship already. I said, I have no doubts the ship will arrive. It's not if, it's just when. And given the World War situation unfolding, it shouldn't be too far in the future, buddy. He said, that's my thoughts as well. Things are getting much worse. I said to him, the code says war evac fire, which is also the Fink's fallen few, obviously, and back. This is the number of the beast, and backwards is the well, it's actually the WEF as well, to World Economic Forum, that are the beast basically. Which I can encode the number of the beast. Okay, so the code says war evac fire, so it makes complete sense on timing. It will be interesting to see if anything in code about it turns up. Okay, strike forward to, incredibly, the 9th of, that was the 27th of September. 12 days later, so it took me 12 days for this to come, well, obviously, now to go through 88 constellations of the night sky and come up with the exact 5 that give you the answer to this question, I'm sure you'll agree is quite miraculous. What I noticed, because I tried to do this video yesterday, and when I replayed it, the sound was out of sync with the video, so obviously this is my 3rd attempt actually, because the sound failed on it as well. So if you're watching this, interestingly as well, this video is 9 days after I decoded what I'm about to show you. So the synchronicity, I guess, is a 9-9. 10 always represents what comes behind, which is Nibiru, the 10th tribe, or Reuben, the 10th tribe, anagram Nibiru, the red dragon planet. Okay. What I didn't know is only as I was writing this up, I realised there was something in it. I put it in an order, and then I spotted it, or it just came into my head and I just spotted it. This is how these triggers work. Well, what you've got is 5 constellations. Okay, and I know people think this is coincidence, but I've learned that nothing is coincidence in this code. It's all by design. But what I realised with the correct ones as well, it's got PUTUP, put up. So put up 5 constellations. So I've put up the 5 constellations, and it'll give us is it the Ark ship? Is this the Ark ship of the evac? Okay, right. The message I'm about to show you. So the question is, what is obviously TikTok? It could be anything, and it's not been officially revealed, obviously, and I'm quite sure they're not going to in a hurry. Whether it gets like I say, I'll let the code talk first, but essentially. Have they and the thing about this object is, number one, is traveling just under light speed, which I would imagine rules out comets anyway. But it's basically it's stopping, starting, and it's course correcting on a trajectory to Earth. Now bear in mind, I've got a target with a dart that hits the temple as well, and obviously I've identified that as the rendezvous. Okay, but the big question is this just TikTok tripe, quite honestly, because apparently these whistleblowers who know people in the Pentagon and these other whatever, I don't know exactly where they are, but I checked it out, and it does seem that there's something. Well, the question is there something in it, or is it just, again, TikTok fantasy tripe, which I don't want to be putting out there? So I'm very cautious, and hence me saying we'll see what the code brings. Well, let me show you what the code brings. Bear with me a second. Right then, folks, how about this for an amazing message that absolutely nails it as far as I'm concerned? Well, I knew anyway this is going to happen. And remember my that code I showed you said the code he opens will be seen before the red dragon planet will be seen. And then it said to rearrange the moon eclipse words. The moon eclipse word as due evac ship Lammelin. Right, a Lammelin obviously is what I've obviously decoded as well as the landing zone. Now this thing is city sized as well, so I know exactly where it's heading, the name of the ship, and bear in mind I've already uncoded this long before I found this. But obviously there is no way that I could create this if it wasn't there, and to find it in among the 5 absolute pinpoint correct constellations that can give you that message, because obviously I just got them one by one. The obvious one was unbelievably I'd forgotten about it, but there was Telescopium, the telescope, and that came to me, and obviously they put it in my head, and I remembered it, and I'm like, no way. And then from there, basically, I don't even know how I done it really, other than clearly well, Canis Minor and Canis Major, for anyone who doesn't know as well, that says Marco realises Roman Catholic reset, or RC reset, it's Roman Catholic reset, and then it gives you the instructions, get sign, add moon, join the RGH. Well, those are the instructions for the template I showed you. So you get the sign is Cancer, obviously you turn the Y upside down with the 2 stars as the forts. And then obviously you add the moon and that becomes the bullseye for the target on the map dart as well, which is coded also. And then join the RGH again. It's the Royal Gwent Hospital, because basically the code that the Royal Arch coming in, or the Royal entry point is the Royal Gwent Hospital where I was born. Obviously, I was inserting the matrix, went there, was born, went back, and then uncoded that the exit or the evac site, and basically I came in the RGH and in the RGH hospital, and I go out on the RGH code. Okay, well, and the last line really blew my mind. Actually, it's amazing. Okay, so the James Webb Telescope has seen the Argus ship Armada. Report true, disclosure soon. Seal RGH, Thai event site. I greet Siluri H at Temple. Okay, and also incidentally, where it says connect thy Sabbath law, right, you've got number 1, the Ark of the Covenant, the real Ark of the Covenant is underneath this temple. Okay, but Siluri H is also, right, the reason I became Siluri H is because the covenant I made was to follow his rule, HISRULE. I followed his rule, which is to keep the Sabbath holy. And that is basically, I gave up every Saturday, I stay home, I don't work, and I've been doing it for 4.5 years, apart from one error, which was recorded in the stars as well, and it made a complete confession. I, Marco Guy, realised Sabbath error. So far, ID Apple, I think it was, which was clearly true, absolutely spot on at the time. But and when he says about backsliding Israel, it's not, it's backsliding his rule. And again, this is all about the land of his rule, which is written in the River Severn, which used to be the Sab River. They changed to Sabrina, and then basically now it's become the Severn. But in changing it, they just recoded it without even knowing. Like I say, this is work of the Almighty. There's nobody else could have created this insanely brilliant code other than the creator of all, and that's who's coming back as well. When it says I return on H, so set all H evac IDs. I've got so in one code I've got the actual name of the telescope, the fact that it's seen the Argus ship Armada. I already said it was an Armada as well. They're saying a fleet of alien ships are heading to Earth. That's what is it true? That's the question. Well, report true. It's telling me, well, not only is the report true, I'm reporting it true to you. It is true. Disclosure soon. You couldn't have worded that better. Whether it's their disclosure, because I don't see them doing it until but at some point that thing is going to get nearer and nearer, and it's absolutely enormous. So they're not going to really have a choice but say it. But I will warn you now, they're going to play this as the Antichrist. It'll be an alien invasion. It'll be a threat, but it's not a threat to the people. It's actually an evac ship for those who are willing to. Well, there will be conditions for getting on, I can tell you that now. And one of them is going to be get rid of your idols of wood and stone that cannot see, hear and speak, which are a graven image. And as I decoded, and this is where they're going to try and turn it around, and this is what they've done, or they're planning to do, is basically they're going to play it up as the Antichrist, because obviously you tell them to get rid of their crosses. A graven image is an image of the grave. It's a cross of wood, stone, silver and gold, and it cannot speak because there's a person, an image of a dead person on it. This is, and it's a graven image, is the only image, the only thing it can be, and I've got it in code as well, where it says to ungod Mary with son, not once, twice, I don't know how many times, don't eat the crab apple of Eden, basically the reskinned apple. Again, I can't get into all that, but it's in the previous videos. Okay, but as you can see, that to be able to create this message, and I did it, like I say, from north, and I didn't do it in 12 days. I literally sat twiddling my thumbs again. I kind of put it out my head until well, until they put it back in, till he put it back in my head, and then obviously I just miraculously knew where to go. Okay, right, on that note, bear with me a second, folks, on to the next part. So if you think this is quick, now we're going back. Right, I was going to show the war ones first, but I thought I need to get people's attention because this is so important. This is like the greatest event in history, and this is first contact, obviously, and I will be the first one. I mean, it says, oh, in the book of Job, it says, canst thou abide by thy crib? I know why now. I mean, where I live in a caravan, after giving everything up 4 years ago, including my business and everything, is literally a 5-minute walk from where it is. So I'm literally I've been abiding by my crib, and well, like I say, there's so many things that tie up. It's impossible to be coincidence without a doubt. Okay, bear with me a second. Okay, right. Okay, in the last video, obviously I did Ezekiel 37, which gives you the triskelion, which basically it's basically the coordinates to seal. It gives you all the. It's from the stars, among other things, and it's basically using the triskelion or the 3 skeleton key that I showed you to identify basically the Holy Land. It all links together. Like I say, it was a complex video, but when you understand it, it's phenomenal. Obviously, you've got right. So what we right, and now I mentioned this in the last one, but this takes it a step further. Okay, Ezekiel 38 is all about the war. It's about Ezekiel's war and all these nations surround Israel, which is actually, it's a whistle, is actually true. I think it's so difficult to work it out, but obviously you've got all these nations, Edom and I don't know, all these different ones. Persia is one, obviously, which is pretty obvious, and they all turn on Israel. But in the rewritten story, Israel gets saved by the Creator and so on and so forth. Clearly they are being deceived, and there is, well, as you're about to see, the real truth of Ezekiel's war. Firstly, it's in the title. When you anagram this down, it gives you this exact says. Very clever, because they obviously didn't think to change the titles, and I think there's a lot more code within these titles. Well, there is, and well, I know there is, but anyway, Ezekiel 38 is all about the war. But when you anagram Ezekiel, and you literally put it into words, same with 37, it tells you there's something about the something key, and then it's all about the dry bones. So you add the bones, you get the triskelion, which is a 3 skeleton key in Welsh. Right, Ezekiel 38, it basically anagrams down to I tie LZ, which we have, and you also, right, I'll come to that. I tie LZ and then tie the RGH. So again, you've got the RGH, which is the RGH Cancer. Okay, to get the RGH and to put it in place, you need to put the Cancer constellation on the map, basically, or on the template. Right, the code in the stars. Now, what's amazing, well, I'm going to put this in there. I don't particularly like numbers, but for some reason, this keeps coming, well, to the point it's annoying me that I've got to do it. I just feel it's right to do it, but I know, when I did it, I noticed it yesterday, and I kind of dismissed it a little bit by putting it up there, but I'm going to do it again because I think I know now what it relates to, or well, strange as anything. Okay, right, firstly, right, there are what is the recognisable bright stars in Cancer? Then there are 5, okay, but the total number of stars in there that they don't include in the main in the picture are actually 11, okay. Right, now when you unscrabble the 11 stars, it tells you Israel, Iran begin, opens up last conflict, USA, China, Europe, UK, Russia. Okay, so what this is doing is effectively is telling you the real war of Ezekiel, or the end war. These are all the kind of participants with Israel, Iran begin. Well, that's actually taking place as we speak. There's no question. Israel, they're just waiting on Israel now to go and attack Iran. They've just killed some leader or something other. I don't know, and basically, and then Iran are right, but they're falling into a trap, as you will see. The Americans and Israel, okay, because they're not the chosen people. This is the problem. Right, okay, so, but this will make more sense as we go on. So you've got the main participants, obviously, USA, China, Europe, UK, Russia, because these are all kind of allying up, and, well, Iran, Russia and China are obviously allies, and then You've got, obviously it puts the UK in because this is the Holy Land. This is, right, as you'll see, Gog and Magog battle, where it is. We'll calculate it now. Okay, but it says, bolt thy last I am due message, seal all. Well, that's to do with Jacob's Ladder. I won't go into it, but effectively you've got Jacob's Ladder, and that also gives you the Argus, basically, is when you put all the seals, it says bolt it, because it's bolt it onto a ladder. And you put all the seals in there, and it tells you it's the Argus Navis, basically. And that's Jacob's Ladder vision, because that connects too. Again, if you want to see that, just check the video out. Right, okay, but as you can see, bolt thy last I am due message. Well, now we got, so the war is, this is actually happening, and now it says, as due, evac ship land Melin. It also said that the code he opens will be seen before the planet Nibiru will be seen. Well, this is literally timing perfectly. So it's like I said, there's no way on earth can this be coincidence. All right, as well, just to add to this as well, just to show you, well, I'll just read it basically. So you've got Canis Minor, the lesser dog, Canis Major. Some of it's in the title, some of it is, and when I say the title, you literally have to use like the star constellations. We've got telescopium, the telescope. There is part of the code. The code takes in, so if it was of Andromeda, the mother of Cepheus, you literally use every letter in it to get the code. So, and then that's how you get the coded messages. It's not just the kind of selected words. This is the same. So every single, this is made up of all the stars, all the 11. And incidentally, I don't, like I say, I don't know whether this is relevant or not, but it does make sense. But this is the 5th of the 11th. It's November the 5th, which is the date of the American general election. Now, I don't know whether that's it's all, funnily enough as well, it's Guy Fawkes night in Britain, which obviously my surname being Guy. I don't know whether that's part of it or just coincidence, but no, in this code it could well be part of it. But basically, the 5th of the 11th is the American general election, and there's talk that, I think if is it Kamala Harris or whatever is losing, well, put it this way, if there's a war, apparently you can't change presidents or something along them lines, and I think that is connected, well, I'm positive it is, because it only come into my head now, and I've seen it, I decoded this before, so I'm going to put that there, 5th of the 11th, it is the American election. Is it coincidence? I don't think so, but if it is, it's incredible and it fits perfectly with everything else. Okay, right, okay. Now, in the book of Daniel, it mentions the king of the, right, I'm just going to take bits and pieces out that this ties to. Basically, it talks of the king of the north invading. Now, if anybody's been following these, the bear with 3 ribs in his mouth is Russia, right? It says the bear raises up with 3 ribs in its mouth and is told to devour much flesh. Flemish on the outside, the Flemish, which is Finland, is an anagram of I'm flesh. So that's the fleshy rib on the outside. So obviously, if you look at the shape of Finland, Sweden and Norway, it literally is in the shape of 3 ribs. It's like a carcass. Obviously, the bear is clearly Russia, raises up on one side. What it is the invasion. They're going to basically tear through. The bear basically it takes out, and it makes strategic sense as well, that once NATO get involved in this and it kicks off, Turkey are going to turn as well. I said that, and they will turn key, which will finish the Finnish people, because that's the key to opening that one. Again, I don't want to complicate it too much. Interestingly as well, the reason for the war is also written I've used Denmark as a pointer, which says Denmark on its own says Mark's End. And then what you've got when you combine Finland, Sweden, Norway and Denmark, as I recall, it says Fink needs war, end many. Well, Fink is he's Lucifer, the Black Rock guy, the guy who owns Black Rock. That man is pure evil. But his demise is with the World Economic Forum, so his Fink's fallen few. But a few backwards is WEF, is the World Economic Forum, is the beast. Fink is the man that decodes as 666, which is FFF, the 6th letter of the alphabet. But his full name is Lawrence Douglas Fink. And when you anagram it down, it tells you his demise, and it says, Fink and Klaus gone. Sorry, Lucifer and Klaus gone. So his name is actually coded as well. He's Lucifer. I know that sounds crazy, but he literally has been sent down and cast out. And like I say, hard to believe, but it's all encoded. Right, Daniel says the kit. Right, so the point I'm making. Right, so once the three ribs have kind of been devoured and it had gone through it, the next part of the code that I did obviously tells you they come down into the UK. So what you've got is the king of the, and it says the king of the north comes down from the north, and then the king of the south pushes up. But obviously everybody thinks, because this is all to do with Israel, that he's talking. People are saying, is it Russia? Is it Turkey? Is it, well, let's find out who the king of the north and who of the south is, because the next part of this code tells us who it is and a whole lot more too. Right, have I gone through everything on there? Let's go for it. Right, oh yeah, and it says the king of the north comes through into the glorious land. Well, the glorious land they assume is Israel. Well, I can tell you it's not, it's Britain. But let's go into code and prove it. Right then, folks. Right, I'm covering this up a second just because I need to explain really how I got this code, okay? Right, now bear in mind the Cancer constellation. Right, the two key stars on that basically fit onto the land, if you like. One at Jerusalem. Jerusalem is, when you use the Cancer constellation, the star is a Celis Australis. It's also use all the Silu star, and then it connects to the ship, which is obviously the Argus Navis. But you've also got a Celis Borealis. Okay, so knowing that these two were the kind of key stars, that Borealis and an Australis are the two key stars that identify the War of Ezekiel 38, or the kind of obviously unconfused version of what's going on. Okay, so with that, it took me to, there's two constellations. One is called Corona Borealis. Now these are constellations, not stars, and Corona Australis, the Southern Crown. Again, you've got the old Pleiades with Please ID as well. There's something here that obviously it seems to be the key to unlock a lot of things that you need to identify. Well, it is identifying something because it identifies the King of the North and the King of the South. Again, I do the same thing. I anagram down from the title the exact words, and it says Russia, NATO, the North. It's a little bit cryptic, this one, but it will make complete sense because it cleverly ties the map, the map tricks and the Sky Atlas kind of the Sky map or the Sky code into one. Right? Okay. It says Russia, NATO, the North-South Crown War. So please ID Israel's error. Well, Israel's error number one is obviously not thinking it's the promised land and it's going to be saved at the end in the end times. What's happening is Netanyahu, whose name is complete blasphemy because his name actually is not Netanyahu. His real name is some Polish name, and he was brought up in America, but his name translates in Hebrew to a gift from Yah. Well, I can assure you that Yah does not want it. Well, what his actions are absolute terrible. But okay, without sidetracking. Okay, so please ID Israel's error. Well, I'll show you even more of his. Well, you'll see now what it is. A corn lines event. Now this is cryptic, but so clever. And like I say, no way in a million years could I have thought this up. Okay, here connects both. Right, okay. How do I do this? Right, bear with me a second. Right, I'm going to have to move the camera, folks, while you're still on there. So you're going to get dizzy a second, but I need to show you. Now, understand what I'm about to show you. Right, a corn lines event is cryptic for basically something I drew on the map using place names that I had when I do this, it's strange because when I did this, obviously, right, when I had reason to pinpoint these places on the map, which you'll see if you look at older videos, but obviously at that point I'm in training, and the truth is Well, they turn out they're absolutely pinpoint to where it should be, and this picture now becomes relevant. But what it's doing is showing you that I was guided to draw it. I was given reason to draw each one of them, and I did, you know, pinpoint where I've pinned this. But what it draws out on the map now, I've got the code for it. Well, like I say, seeing is believing, quite honestly. But understand that obviously you know, I drew this 2 years ago, and there is no way that I could have known the code in it, because it needs to happen. Well, what it says is happening now, and it ties directly with this as well. And incidentally, Russia is the king of the north and NATO is the king of the south. That's what it says. The North-South Crown War obviously is cryptic, but there's obviously the king of the north comes down into the glorious land, which is the UK, after the 3 ribs are devoured in Daniel. He comes down into Britain, and we'll identify who is Gog and Magog, and where the final battle of Gog and Magog happens. And I do believe, hopefully, the evac might be complete before this goes down. I don't know, but either way, before we just have a look at this, let me just show you quite scary really. I've given you the positive about the ship is on the way, and if you get right, you can get on it really. But let's go look at the negatives. Bear with me. Let me just set this up a second. Like I say, this is the most frightening symbol that I've ever, so far ever kind of decoded. Bear with me. Now, right, what you're seeing is North and South America. Shrink it down a bit, it's a bit of a nuisance because I get all these coordinates on it. Right, as you can see, there's a gigantic corn scythe. Okay. All right, I got one more, one clever, right, okay, I'll show you it anyway, but, right, California, right, where this point is, it's on Sacramento, which is O Sacrament. Right, Sacrament is a sign, basically, between man and Yah, or it's actually between me and Yah. Sacramento is also an anagram of St. Marco A. Well, he sent me a sacrament, a sign. Okay, and it's also California. This is why it says a corn lines event, because California is an anagram of a corn I fail. Obviously, when he talks of the end times and the harvest, this is what he's talking about. It's a corn I fail. So he's basically, America is the corn he's failed, and he takes down kings, and right. The key points in Newport News. If you followed this, what you'll know is that, let me just find it, Newport News, okay, right, the Newport News, right, for this you need to link it to Solomon's Great Seal, which shows you basically it's a star cut in half in a reflection in the water, and what it is a paper ship. Okay, so what you have when you connect the Newport News and the paper ship, and the point of the scythe is basically the Newport newspaper is called the Argus, the South Wales Argus. Unbelievably, the kind of newspaper that I grew up and what's incredible is I actually delivered this paper round Jerusalem, not knowing when I was a kid, and as part of it was my paper round job, my first kind of job. Now I'm here 54 years later selling the Argus again, but like completely different, and I'm sure that is no accident that is all, like I say, my life is encoded. And right, so you connect the Newport News. So obviously I knew Newport News, and I don't think at the time I actually pinpointed this. I actually thought it was like Newport News. It's like I was born in Newport as well. Newport is Casnewydd, which is where the Royal Gwent Hospital is, and I was kind of the news, spreading the news type thing of what I was finding. But obviously these kind of bends in the line as well are natural. They're literally, this thing was made for Google Maps. Don't ask me what the shape of the earth is, I don't know. It's honest, just in case anyone's wondering, I don't know. But either way, right, so you've got Sacramento, then you've got Los Angeles. This is, let me just pull that up a touch. Right, this is, I've covered up the thing, but this is Los Angeles. Los Angeles is also an anagram of Luce's angel. And guess where Lawrence Douglas Fink Lucifer was born? He was born in Los Angeles. Unbelievable. You can follow it. I've encoded him in numerous ways as well. I dare say there's more hidden code than, well, you can see there. I don't know if you can see this, but he says East Los Angeles, just so you know I'm not making this up. Up there is Sacramento, which is your sacrament, it's your sign. And this is very specific because the next code is well, let me just say it includes the American dollar, and the exact pinpoint this one is very exact, and it's the Las Vegas pyramid. Okay, you got the pyramid in Las Vegas, the city of sin. Okay, so right now this is where it gets absolutely incredible, because when I came to redo this, I couldn't. How I found these places and they fit this code is absolutely bizarre. I can kind of see why I use them, but I'm still astonished because the overall code that comes out is crazy. But this is, I think this is in Argentina, Corrientes Province, Argentina, a place called San Luis del Palma. Right, well, I can tell you what I'm seeing in there is firstly Silu, which is short, it's a singular Siluri. I've obviously seen map and lead, and this is nothing to do with the actual code, but these were the kind of reasons when I first did it. This one, I'm a little confused. There's a little place called, San Cosme. I can't pull it up because hang on. Yeah, there we go, San Cosme, and I don't even know I'm not sure what the logic was behind it, but let me just pull it over. Sorry folks about this terrible, my camera work is awful. Right, San Cosme. I'm not even sure to this day why I picked that, but whatever reason I picked it, and the other one was clearly, I was meant to put it there, but I cannot even begin to tell you why. But ultimately what I got is what this represents is your corn line event. Now the place where the handle is held is Mexico, and right, it says I come X, which is planet X, which is secondary, but what it actually says is come XI. Well, XI is G or G, and when you add to Jinping to it, tells you that China is coming. That's the upshot of it, and that's what the kind of translation is it? We're talking of the invasion of America. Right, okay, I need to go back to the board and pause you a second while I get this squared up. Right, bear with me a second while I explain this in depth. Okay, bear with me folks, this is the trouble with me being so technologically useless. Right, okay, that'll do. Okay, that went better than expected, moving that. Right, okay, I'm putting this on the board just so you can see. Obviously, if you wish, if you want to check these, obviously, and cross these off yourself, and you can create the message yourself. And sometimes I think it's worth doing it. Like, it's absolutely brilliant, because it kind of makes, well, like I say, it's just astonishing what it reveals. Okay, I haven't put the message up. What I've done, I've put California. This is an anagram of a corn I fail. So when it says it's the corn lines event, you've got a picture of basically a scything, a corn reaper scythe, and a corn, and obviously it's on, and the place it's the kind of point of it at the top is right on California, a corn I fail. Sacramento is obviously right. Sacramento, a sacrament is a sign. If you rearrange it, it says, and it also says, oh, sent Marco A, and then all you do is bring down sign. So he sent me a sign of a corn I fail, happens to be a scythe, brilliant. Okay, and then what I've done, these are the place names of I mean, I can explain to you why I did it. Loses Angel, Lucifer, there's a line for him in there as well. The Las Vegas pyramid, now there's a pyramid, but bear in mind there's a pyramid on the US dollar, and as you'll see, that is part of this Israel's error. Okay, Newport News, I explained the map, and the other two, the other one, I can't even remember what the reasoning was for it. But as you'll see now, when I unscrabble this and I show you the message, you'll see, well, obviously it explains Israel's error, or shows why it's not a good, what he's doing is absolutely, well, you'll see now. Okay, bear with me a second. Okay, folks, here it is, in rather large writing, the top part, but Marco sets an angel sign. I think the angel sign, well, I think it's probably, I hate to say it, but I think it's the angel of death as well. I think that's what it's implementing, because obviously you've got the Grim Reaper as well. But an angel sign because you're looking from above. Okay. Dollar collapses. Well, that is pretty much, well, the American dollar is going up. I think every month it goes up by 1.5 trillion or some ridiculous amount in interest. And well, clearly it's only going to go so far, and that's going to happen. US won't save Israel. Well, there's Israel's error, because it's starting a war with Iran and deliberately pushing and cause, well, it's trying to fulfill this prophecy that is not even applicable to them. And it says that Yah will, well, it implies that Yah is going to save Israel and he'll forgive them for all their sins and everything else. Number one, they're in the wrong land. Number two, they're not even the chosen people, and that doesn't mean there isn't some people among them that may, and I might be optimistic on this, but I'm wondering if it's a remnant of Israel, because I have a code on the Alpha and the Omega code, which I can't reveal until probably the 69th video, which would be the Cancer constellation sign, 6 and 9. Or I think that's when it's going to be revealed. But I've already got the code for it to know what the Alpha and Omega is. And within that code, where you decode it, it gives you a code and it says many safe. Like I say, I hope this is true and that I've got it right, and that it could be a remnant of Israel will survive, obviously, when Israel is overrun. Now, this is Israel's error, and it's, seen my end war map. Well, his end war map is the bear with 3 ribs as well, so that connects, obviously, the king of the north, the king of the south. But obviously, right, here it is. It's not just Israel's error, it's NATO's error, because effectively, Israel, with America behind it, could defeat Iran. Would probably defeat Iran. Okay, but if you take America out of the equation, and China will invade. What it's telling me is, and I also, by the way, in the blade of the scythe, I did a code going back which took every state in there, like Utah, I don't know what they were, Colorado, all the way down. It said something, I forget what it was. It's one of the side videos, but the code says, look to Marco in a Taiwan-China invasion crisis and a key fort hill seal or something. I forget it, but it literally tells you that it's going to be a China type. Well, obviously it will begin in China, but obviously it says, see my end war map. Well, basically, right, Israel's error, they start a war, they're same as NATO, they're relying on, and the UK, we're all relying on, basically on America to save us. Now, if you see what's going on, a guy summed it up brilliantly, a guy called Canadian Prepper, and he can see what's coming, and I can too. It's going to be like, he calls it, it's going to be like a game, America trying to, because they've agreed to back the Philippines, Japan, South Korea, even Guyana of all places, would you believe it, with his a map picture. Guyana, where Venezuela has agreed to go, or has got the go ahead to invade it or something. But bear in mind, all these are all allied, but the opponents are all allied as well. Now you've got China waiting to, Taiwan, obviously. I mean, that's just the, kind of the China Sea. Then you've got Russia, a kind of Britain. Well, Britain and Europe effectively are obviously relying on America, because Russia's absolutely rolling over Ukraine, and it's only a matter of time before NATO has to step in. But obviously they'll be banking on America too. Now America is also funding everything, funding Ukraine, funding Israel, funding while the debt clock is going up by trillions at the, well, I don't know, but it's an insane amount. And somewhere, well, I didn't know this, but obviously somewhere along the line, this is why there's a pyramid as well. The dollar collapses in the pyramid, Las Vegas pyramid in the code. It doesn't say pyramid, but it's clearly why there's, it's all part of the same thing. But what you've got is the US won't save Israel, but where it says Shia connects both, obviously you've got NATO as well. UK, we're all everybody's relying on America to save them. Well, America is going to have this work cut out because all its forces, like that guy said, is like a game of whack-a-mole, where they're at the moment. And if you look at how they're all allying up together, and I think, well, I'm positive that there's a plan. They know that NATO and that they're pushing these wars. The West is clearly pushing it. And the dollar, and it's all because the dollar is collapsing, and they've got this BRICS currency that they've all ganged together. Basically, America the West is losing the financial war. The only way they can save the dollar and everything else is basically by defeating Russia and China, or at least breaking it up. I think that was the original plan, but it's obviously all backfired, and it says they'd be caught in their own snare. Well, they have been, and literally, like I say, and I think what's going to happen is going to be like a domino effect, basically, because the minute that America is tied up in the Middle East, and NATO is obviously Ukraine is losing, so NATO are going to get tied in. America then China. I think China are just sat twiddling their thumbs, waiting. And they're just going to step in, take Taiwan, and then they're going to end up, America's going to go and try and stop them, but they're obviously split. They're literally, talk about getting your own back on a divide and conquer. But I think that's what it is. Well, I know it is. And literally everyone who's relying then on America, it means that Turkey as well is going to slip from NATO. They're going to change sides as well. And therefore then obviously they're going to come in and they join the other team. So you've got the second biggest army in Europe next to what was Ukraine, I think was the first. Now you've got the second biggest army in NATO has now switched sides as well and joined the other team. Absolute, and I can see it. It's just waiting to happen, and that's what I mean. And obviously now, well, as due, you've got the war happening. It's all everything in this code is lining up perfectly. So, and like I say, could I'm a security guard in Corsham. I'm not stupid, don't get me wrong. I'm not, I've got common sense. I'm streetwise. I've been a doorman for years. I even had a couple of companies, but I got there and I was too honest. That's probably half my problem with it, why I didn't actually get successful. I was too honest, but not that I regret that, obviously, because I have good morals on those grounds, and I will not do the dirty on people or anyone just to make myself better type thing. Like I say, I'm not out, obviously all I'm trying to do really, like I say, he says he sets a watchman, and he says if he doesn't tell the people, then the blood is on their hands. Well, I've washed my hands of the blood because I put this out there and I show you. I followed my kind of deal that I did with Yah going back 4.5 years ago. I made a deal that I would follow his rule, and obviously I did, and I'm so glad I did now. I have no regrets, and now I see why I was literally shaken out of bed, and my children, I'm not worrying about the war, not for myself, and I'm not worried about Nibiru turning up either. But I am not worried for me, but I obviously am worried for the people. And I'm pleading, I plead with Yah, like, please, and I don't think people are that bad. Jesus says, incidentally, Jesus said there's no sign, there won't be any signs for that wicked generation. Well, I think I've just disproved that because I've got multitudes of them. And I also don't think it's a wicked generation. I think it's wicked rulers, and it is wicked leaders, wicked shepherds that are leading everything, the sheep and everybody astray. They've literally set this world up. You're born into a world that is full, it's just geared up to make people sin. But most people just go about their daily business living in servitude to the absolute scum that rules this earth, and their time is clearly up. And I look forward, obviously I look forward to it, but I really, you need to take he says heed his warning. The warning is, first you need to stop saying amen, get rid of your idols of wood and stone. And I know how difficult this is because my first thing was I started heading down the Jesus road. But my question was, if Jesus, if I don't follow Jesus, I go to hell. If I don't follow Allah, I go to hell. If I don't, I said, and I even used in the first video, I even said it's like a game of Russian roulette. Well, lo and behold, that's become apparent too. But because I knew back then there was going to be a war between Russia and the UK, I said that to quite a few people. My mum she knows, and I also said China and USA would go to war. This is 4 years ago, and I don't even really know how I knew then. Well, I kind of do, but it's just strange. But obviously, something in me told me it isn't right, and here I am trying to get everybody to understand that the Creator's name is Yah. You need to turn to Him, stand in the letter Y, put your hands up, put your sins, you have to think your sins on your palms. I'm not saying you remember everything you've done, but try. I know it's symbolic, and I wouldn't have believed it in a million years, but I did it. And what's incredible, if you literally stand in the letter Y, you put your head down when you apologise. And by doing this is kind of me with my head down. It represents, I put my sins on my palms, and in return, in the reflection of the kind of the Sabbath, as a reflection of doing the Sabbath, I got the end map. You can actually pinpoint the end map. You've got the lock and the key, This is the end map. You could put them on top of the pillars, but that's all symbolic as well. But literally, just apologise. Don't repent. Just say sorry, and be honest with Him, and just be straight and tell it, But ask Him forgiveness, and you don't want to be on this planet. I'm telling you, folks, you do not want to be on this planet. This cannot be coincidence. I think, I mean, going back, I thought, there was times I thought, have I got this right? The last thing I want to do is go telling people to turn away from Jesus and whatever, and turns out be wrong. Not only do I look a fool, and I don't want to be. I'm not a fool. I really don't believe things unless they're in, like I say, I don't believe unless when I get a code. That's what I say. Don't believe anything. I got opinions on things, but I don't know everything. But what I do know is solid, and I trust it 100% now. I absolutely know without any shadow of doubt, just on the nature of how clever this is, how it all connects together, and how quickly I get it, and what I obviously I fulfil my part, and in return I've got, so much more than I bargained for. Okay, on that note, so obviously we got, right, I'm just going to do a last quick code, right, and it's a bit of a, it looks a bit strange to be honest, but you'll see what I mean now. It makes complete sense. Gog and Magog is a code. Right, firstly, Gog and Magog is a place, but we'll come to that. Right, let me just write this up. It's Gog. Hang on, let me just change that a little bit. I know that, and like I say, it's almost crazily brilliant. I just put a little line in there, and then okay, so we got go G, am. Okay, right, what is go G? Right, the core of Solomon's coding and all this code is generally split into two categories. Well, it's pyramids, which are represented by Giza. And then the other part is represented by the Fort Girus, or it's named after Girus the crane, but it's clearly the thing. So if we go G, and then what you have is RUS. It's a Z, but that's pretty much finite. IA. So basically, so if you know one is, Magog is Russia, that's Magog. And Gog is obviously got to be, because the king of the north, the king of the south coming down is NATO. That'll be Gog. So Gog and NATO. Now every year in London, the Mayor of London's festival actually carry two gigantic statues things. They're ancient giants, and they carry them through the streets of London. And I don't know whether they know this is true or not, which makes it even more bizarre. But obviously, when they come, when they invade from the north, from Scotland or the northeast, I'm not sure, but they're clearly coming in from Oslo falling, anagram of solo as well, and then we know to get to Mon is a signal that this is coming close. Right, as they come down, basically you've got, I hate drawing this, right, that's Wales, Cornwall, you've got the southeast. Well, if they're coming down here, right by roughly here, I don't know where it is, but in Cambridge, there's a place called the Gog and Magog Hills. Well, if you're defending Babylon or London, and you know it's from the King of the North, and then the King of the South is NATO, you got NATO coming up. This is why he says they push up and they come down into the glorious land. So what you've got is the battle of, effectively, is the Battle of London. That's what it is on the Gog and Magog Hills. So that also decodes Ezekiel's Gog and Magog. It is nothing like what you've been led to believe in the rewritten Bible. I don't know what they've done to it, changed it, but yeah, it gives me the root one basically code to knowing what this is all about. And as you can see, well, like I say, get right with Yah, folks. And on that note, please, I beg you to, obviously, if you can put this message out, plant seeds. I mean, one thing I do know, when this ship comes in, or they disclose it, and I, obviously I'm telling you in advance, it's come in and prove. So when it does turn up, you know for sure people are going to be looking for this. They'll be looking for it because they're going to play this as an alien invasion, an enemy, the usual Antichrist. I think he'll throw the works at it. But clearly it's not. It's an evac mission, and people, and I'm just hoping that, I don't think it's going to just come and drop in a day and pick people up and off it goes. I hope not anyway. I can't say for definite, but I'm hoping it gives us time to get people right, or maybe as it's moving in, and I don't think this is too far in the future, folks, either, to be truthful. I think this is, it's lining up perfectly for the time, well, like I say, I don't want to say, I don't know a date, but let's just say when it arrives. If you would like this video, share it. Obviously, if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe. Go back over these codes, check them yourself. But like I say, and just see the miracle in these, because folks, I'm not lying to you when I tell you, and I have no clue how I even why I got picked to do this is beyond me. I don't know, and I wouldn't have believed it myself. I'm not somebody who was looking for it, or well, I don't get it. I don't ultimately get it, but clearly he must have found some reason for me to be the one to do this. But he's backed me up with something phenomenal. Anyway, on that note, folks, I'm going to leave it there because this won't upload otherwise. And yeah, blessings till hopefully the next video.